when we got back, I got all the guys together and did a little investigative work, compared my notes on what I thought was the process we had used here with Jim. And I'm not quite as up to par as I am offensively, obviously, but I was pretty close. So I gathered everybody up. There's about 12 of them in there with all the students and young people and such, and went over everything we needed to do to get to game day to where it would be the exact same or really even better than when Jim was here. And so we laid all that out, made sure everybody understood their responsibility, made sure everybody understood what part of the game plan they were responsible for. And then I asked them things to get accomplished that I needed to know myself to get caught up since Jim's not here. And then I've been meeting with them every day and watching it, seeing what's going on, how they've handled it, so on and so forth. So quite honestly, I don't expect to skip a beat.
Do you anticipate having an interim defensive coordinator, someone in place for the bowl game?
Mike, who calls?
I'll make that decision probably the day we get there. I'm watching everything. I'm watching it take place in practice. I'm watching everybody do their job. I'm listening in meetings. I'm gaining knowledge on information on guys in the room that can give me information on Notre Dame's offense. And I'm just gathering that information, and I'll make that decision as when we get out there.
Have you added somebody up to fill Jim's on the field role?
No.
Who sort of absorbs that then?
Which part?
In terms of just taking over his spot in practice?
Well, so what happened is, that's these are good questions, but what happened is, I know what Jim does at practice. The integral parts of what he does in the meeting rooms all day, I'm not in there with him all day. So that's when I went in to gather that information. Then I took his responsibilities and said, okay, Duffy, you got this. But Joe Bob, you got this. Hammer, you got this. To cover what Jim did in practice. The scripting, the plays, the stuff we do, all that is done in meeting rooms anyway. You guys know that. I mean, it was no different when Yursich and Monken and all those guys left. That whenever I called it, everything was done in the meeting. I just showed up and called it on game day. So that's where we're at right now.
In terms of the process, Mike, was it a conversation you had with Jim that allowed you to, hey, let's talk about this before you decide to go, or was it he was going to go?
Well, Jim was in communication. Well, I should say Jim's agent was in communication with our administration. I don't really do much of that anymore. Agents handle most of these people that have agents. They do all of that, and there's not a lot of conversation other than the night of the championship game. I called Jim from up here at the office, and I was doing work. You get caught up for the next day, and called, said, hey, Jim, did a great job, that, which I've told him that for the last 3 or 4 weeks. We're going to take care of you, give you whatever you want to a certain extent, and we want you here, and typical stuff, so on and so forth. And then from that point, other people take it over.
Not to diminish Jim, but in my conversation with him, he was very humble. Mm-hmm. He admitted this defense is a hybrid. It's a group project. Everybody was in on it. It's not what he brought from Duke. Mm-hmm. But fans kind of get the conception that, hey, this guy took it with him out the door.
We're not going to miss a beat. It's going to be fine.
But the defense itself is a hybrid. It's not.
Right, so Jim came in with his history of what he did. Jim is highly intelligent, and Jim is a terrific game day manager, period. That's a fact. I've said that. But what he brought scheme-wise, and then what I worked with him on, things that I didn't like, and I asked him to change, he morphed into what we are today. Now, I'm not taking credit for that. I just know enough to say that I don't like this. I want this. I need you to get that and get in the middle so we can survive in this conference. That's where we got to this defense.
And he said it was a group project. The other guys, Duff, Joe, Bob, they all participate.
It is. They all do. But Jim is highly intelligent, and he can go in a room, close the door, and come out with a piece of work. It works. That's what he's good at. And he's a terrific game day manager, really good. So that part, we have to find a replacement for. But everything to get to where we are, the style of defense, the toolbox with the tools is left here. He didn't take that with him. So that's just a fact. But Jim was willing to listen and say, okay, coach, if this is what you want, I will figure it out and I'll make it work. And that's what he did.
Is there a timeline on when you'd like to have a new defensive coordinator and what's kind of going to go into that?
I'll do it after the bowl. I don't like to take coaches off coaching staff during the season. I just don't like doing that. So, I mean, if I really wanted to, I could, but I don't want to do that. I just don't think it's fair. That's just my opinion. I don't believe in that.
If it's a we're not going to miss a beat scenario, Mike, are you more apt to consider promoting the guy already here?
I mean, I knew I was going to get that question. There's guys here that I have thoughts about, but my job is to find the very best person, whether it's here or somewhere else, to be in charge of the defense and keep the tools we have in the toolbox and keep it moving forward, because we have a good plan right now. That's my job. And so that is a difficult part, because the easiest thing to do is just move somebody and not change. But I have to make sure that, in my opinion, I could be wrong, that that's what's best for the organization. And I just don't have that answer. If I did, I'd give it to you.
Internal or external, what are you looking for in that next coordinator to keep things going?
Smart, hardworking, and loyal. Those three things. They don't even have to be a defensive coach. They can be an offensive coach. If they're smart, they're hardworking, they're loyal, then they can do it.
You said, I think it's either when Yosich or Sean left, you said you'd reached the point where you thought you could hire somebody from outside with OSU ties that knew the lay of the land and those kinds of things. I can't remember if you meant offense specific. So did you really mean offense specific?
So, with all the positions in this building, which you guys know there's so many of them now, I would prefer to hire somebody that's been here, has either played for me or coached for me or understands our culture. That saves me a lot of heartache. And then I don't have to train them. It's not as easy to do with coordinators because there might not be as many to choose from. But there's some out there.
Mike, losing Jim, does that give you worry about the future in terms of being able to keep coaches financially? When we talk about the money situation, is that one of the concerns?
I mean, we got outbid. I mean, if that's what you're asking me. We tried hard. I mean, I don't want to get into the personal situation with Jim. I mean, if Jim wants to talk about it all, it doesn't matter. I mean, I think he became one of the top 2 or 3 highest paid coordinators in the country. I don't know for sure because I wasn't involved in the agent concept, but you would have to ask Jim. I had a really good conversation with Jim. Jim and I have a really good relationship. And he's very appreciative and humble for what we were able to accomplish here. And he knows he got this opportunity because of us. He knows that. And the team, he told me that. He goes, this defense put me in this position. So he's very humble and he's appreciative of that. But we gave him we offered him the highest package that anybody's ever had around here. And we got outbid considerably. So, and there's just we have a limitation here to a certain extent to keep everybody kind of tied into the same salary scale.
For more information, you can visit TulsaWorld.com.